The campus of Willow Creek University pulsed with energy on a balmy May night in 2021. Finals were over and students flooded the Delta Sigma fraternity house where music thumped and fairy lights twinkled above the backyard. Sophie Carter, a 21-year-old environmental science major, was in her element. Her auburn hair gleamed as she laughed, her green sundress catching the breeze. Known for her passion for sustainability and her habit of scribbling in a leather journal, Sophie was a magnet, her infectious smile drawing friends and strangers alike. On May 14th, Sophie celebrated the end of her junior year with her best friend, Mia Larson. Party photos captured her joy, a red cup in hand, chatting by a fire pit. Around 1 a.m., Mia noticed Sophie talking to a tall figure in a hoodie shadowed by the flames. She didn't think much of it. Sophie was always curious, always connecting. But by 2 a.m., Sophie was gone. Her phone went straight to voicemail, her dorm room empty. Mia alerted campus security, and by morning, fear gripped the campus. Sophie's parents, Ellen and Tom Carter, raced 6 hours from Eugene, Oregon, their stomachs knotted. Police found Sophie's purse in a bush near the frat house, her ID and cards inside, but her phone and keys were missing. Flyers with her face, smiling, hopeful, covered Willow Creek, and volunteers scoured the woods and riverbanks. The police theorized Sophie, perhaps intoxicated, had wandered off, but her friends swore she wasn't a heavy drinker and would never leave without a word. Weeks bled into months and the trail went cold. The Carters hired a private investigator and launched a Find Sophie website, clinging to hope. Ellen pored over Sophie's dorm journals filled with dreams of saving the planet and sketches of trees, but they held no clues. A blurry gas station camera caught a woman resembling Sophie at 2:30 a.m. that night, walking alone, but the lead fizzled. For 3 years, Sophie's absence was a wound that refused to heal, her fate a haunting question mark. In May 2024, a graduate student cleaning a storage room in the university's science building found a locked metal box behind dusty lab equipment. Inside was Sophie's journal, its pages brimming with her tidy handwriting. The discovery stunned everyone, not just because it was Sophie's, but because the room belonged to Dr. Nathan Everett, a biology professor who'd taught her freshman year. The journal's final entries, dated May 2021, hinted at a secret Sophie had uncovered, something dangerous. "Drivey is hiding something in the lab," she wrote. "I saw files I wasn't supposed to. If anything happens, check the records." Ellen sat in her living room, clutching the journal, her hands trembling. The police had photographed every page before returning it, and now, with Tom beside her, she read Sophie's words, each one a knife. The last entry, May 13, 2021, was frantic. "I know too much. Drivey is involved in something illegal. I'm confronting him tomorrow at the party. If I don't come back, tell Mom and Dad I love them." Ellen's breath caught. Everett, a charismatic professor in his 40s, had written Sophie a glowing recommendation and called after her disappearance, his voice thick with sympathy. Now he was a suspect. Detective Laura Bennett, who'd taken Sophie's case, led the investigation. She questioned Everett in his office, where he sat coolly behind a desk stacked with research papers. "I don't know how that journal got there," he said, adjusting his glasses. "Students misplace things. Maybe Sophie left it in a lab." But when Bennett mentioned lab records, his jaw tightened. He ended the interview abruptly, citing a class. Bennett, trusting her instincts, secured a warrant for his office, home, and the science building's basement where the journal was found. The basement was a labyrinth of storage rooms, damp and cluttered. In a locked cabinet, police found a USB drive with encrypted files listing payments to Everett from an offshore account. Terms like specimens and batch 4 raised alarms. Sophie's journal suggested she'd accessed these files while working late on her environmental project, which gave her lab access. "I found weird vials in a freezer," she wrote. Drivey was on the phone talking about deliveries. "I think it's bigger than pollution." What had Sophie seen, and why had it cost her life? Ellen and Tom met Bennett at the Willow Creek Police Station, a squat building by the river. Bennett spread out journal pages, her voice steady. Sophie overheard Everett discussing product movement. She thought it was illegal waste at first, given her project. She copied lab logs, trying to figure it out. Ellen's voice broke. Why didn't she tell us? Bennett softened. She was scared and didn't know who to trust. She planned to confront Everett at the party. We think that's why she was with him by the fire pit. Mia, at the meeting, paled. That was Everett? I thought it was some random guy in a hoodie. Bennett nodded. He wasn't there as a professor. Students saw him, but no one suspected him then. She leaned forward. The USB files are our lead, but we need to crack them. And we need to find Sophie. The Carters left, hope warring with dread. Everett had been at their daughter's memorial, shaking their hands. Now, Sophie's words pointed to him, and Ellen vowed to see this through for her daughter's sake. Detective Laura Bennett pushed her team to unravel Dr. Nathan Everett's secrets. The encrypted USB drive from the basement held a ledger of transactions, dates, sums in the millions, and codes like Batch 4 and Delivery S9. A tech specialist cracked it in 2 days, revealing payments from a Cayman Islands shell company. The specimens weren't chemicals but human stem cells, illegally harvested and sold to private clinics. Sophie's journal suggested she'd stumbled onto this, her late-night lab work exposing Everett's dark side. I saw vials in a locked freezer, she wrote. Drivey was arguing about clients on the phone. It's not just waste, it's worse. Ellen Carter barely slept, Sophie's journal her constant companion. She sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, cross-referencing Sophie's entries with university records she'd obtained through a public records request. She found odd lab orders, liquid nitrogen, medical-grade freezers, supplies unlinked to Everett's published research. Sophie had noticed them too. Why so much nitrogen? The lab's not that big. Ellen's heart sank, imagining her daughter piecing together a dangerous puzzle alone. Everett, with his warm smile and polished lectures, had seemed untouchable, a campus hero. Now he was a monster. Mia Larson, racked with guilt for missing Sophie's last moments at the party, dug into her own investigation. She recalled Sophie mentioning a creepy guy in a suit in the lab days before she vanished. Mia scoured social media, finding a photo from a science department event showing Everett with a slick-haired man in his 50s. She sent it to Bennett, who identified him as Victor Klein, a Portland fixer with ties to black market deals. Klein had never been convicted, but his presence with Everett was no coincidence. Sophie saw them together, Mia told Bennett. She knew something was wrong. Bennett raided Everett's sleek home on Willow Creek's outskirts. The search yielded nothing obvious, no files, no vials, just books and hiking photos with students. But in the garage, under a tarp, was a locked freezer. Inside were vials labeled S9 and Batch 4, matching the ledger. A lab confirmed they contained human stem cells, sourced unethically, possibly from coerced donors or falsified studies. Everett was running a trafficking ring, using his university lab as a front. Sophie's discovery had threatened to expose him, and her confrontation at the party was her undoing. Bennett hauled Everett in for questioning. He sat in the interrogation room, his lawyer beside him, exuding calm. Those vials are for a legitimate study, he said, voice smooth. Sophie misunderstood what she saw. I'm heartbroken by her loss. But when Bennett pressed about the offshore payments, his fingers twitched. Consulting fees, he muttered, and his lawyer shut it down. Bennett wasn't fooled. Everett's cool facade hid panic. She needed more to tie him to Sophie's disappearance, not just the trafficking. Ellen and Tom met Mia at a diner near campus. Their faces drawn. Mia shared her find about Klein, and Ellen revealed a lab order for liquid nitrogen signed by Everett, dated May 15, 2021, the day after Sophie vanished. It's for preserving tissue, Ellen said, voice shaking. Or destroying evidence. They passed it to Bennett, who searched the lab again. In a hidden panel under a workbench, she found a burner phone with texts to Klein. Issue resolved. Meet me at the warehouse. 3 a.m. The timestamp matched the night Sophie disappeared. The burner phone was a break, but not enough for an arrest. Bennett tailed Everett, watching him drive to a warehouse outside Portland. Klein was there, unloading crates from a van. Bennett called for backup, but Everett slipped away before the raid. The crates held medical supplies and more vials, confirming the trafficking, but Sophie's fate remained elusive. Ellen, desperate, started attending campus events, hoping to catch Everett off guard. At a lecture, their eyes met and his smile faltered, a crack in his armor. That night, an anonymous email hit Ellen's inbox. "Stop digging, or you'll regret it." Attached was a photo of Sophie's torn sundress, stained on a concrete floor. Ellen forwarded the email to Bennett, her hands trembling. The dress was proof Sophie hadn't wandered off. Bennett brought in the FBI, who traced Klein to a seedy Portland motel. After a tense standoff, Klein was arrested, spilling details under pressure. He admitted working with Everett for years, moving stem cells to buyers. "Sophie got too close," he said. "She found the files, confronted Nathan at the party. He said he'd handle her." Klein claimed ignorance of her fate, only that Everett called him post-party to clean up. Ellen, driven by Sophie's journal, took a risk. She and Mia sneaked into the science building after hours, using Mia's student ID. The basement was cold, the air thick with dust. They found the storage room where Sophie's journal was discovered and spotted a trapdoor under a shelf. Ellen's heart raced as they descended into a hidden lab, freezers humming, monitors dark. On a table lay Sophie's cracked phone. Ellen powered it on, revealing a photo of Everett, his face cold, timestamped 1:50 a.m. May 15th. A video followed, Sophie's voice shaking. "He knows I know. I'm in the lab. If I don't make it, I love you, Mom and Dad." Mia called Bennett, who arrived with forensics. The lab held more vials and a laptop with emails to buyers about fresh stock. A locked safe contained Sophie's keys and a blood-stained lab coat with Everett's initials. DNA confirmed the blood was Sophie's. Bennett issued a warrant arresting Everett at his office. He was calm, almost smug, but the evidence, journal, phone, lab coat, was overwhelming. The Carters, watching from home, wept, knowing Sophie's courage had trapped him, even if her fate was still unclear. True Crime, 2021, 2024, 2024, 9/2025. 5,000. The arrest of Dr. Nathan Everett sent shockwaves through Willow Creek University. Students whispered in lecture halls and faculty avoided the science building, now cordoned off by police tape. Ellen and Tom Carter sat at home, Sophie's journal open on their kitchen table, its pages a lifeline to their daughter. The evidence, her phone, the blood-stained lab coat, the hidden lab, was damning, but Sophie's body was still missing. Ellen clung to the locket from Sophie's purse, found 3 years ago, its tree pendant a reminder of her daughter's love for nature. Detective Laura Bennett worked relentlessly, coordinating with the FBI to dismantle Everett's stem cell trafficking ring. The laptop from the hidden lab revealed emails to buyers in Seattle and Los Angeles discussing premium specimens and delivery schedules. The operation was worth millions, exploiting desperate patients with untested treatments. Sophie's journal had exposed it all, her entries detailing late-night lab visits where she'd found coded vials and overheard Everett's tense calls. "He's selling something human," she wrote. "I can't let this go." Bennett questioned Everett again, but he was a wall of composure, his lawyer deflecting every accusation. The lab coat was planted, Everett claimed, his voice steady. "I'm a researcher, not a criminal." Sophie was confused, maybe unstable. His words stung Ellen, who'd heard them on a police recording. Sophie was anything but unstable, her journal showed a sharp mind, piecing together Everett's crimes with precision. Bennett pressed him on the burner phone texts to Victor Klein, but Everett's lawyer shut it down, citing lack of direct evidence linking him to Sophie's disappearance. Mia Larson, meanwhile, dug deeper. She contacted Dr. Rachel Kim, a chemistry professor who'd shared lab space with Everett. Rachel was shaken, her hands fidgeting as she met Mia at a campus cafe. Nathan was secretive, she admitted. He'd lock the lab at night, even when no one was there. Sophie asked me about freezer protocols days before she vanished. I thought she was just curious. Rachel's eyes welled up. I should have seen something was wrong. Mia shared Sophie's journal entries and Rachel recalled a delivery of liquid nitrogen the day after Sophie disappeared, odd for a lab not running cryogenic experiments. Ellen joined Mia's efforts, poring over Sophie's journal for overlooked clues. One entry stood out: Drivey uses a warehouse off Route 7. Saw him drive there with the suit guy. Ellen passed this to Bennett, who traced the warehouse to an industrial park outside Portland. A raid uncovered crates of medical equipment and more vials, but no sign of Sophie. Klein, now in custody, offered more under a plea deal. Nathan panicked after Sophie confronted him, he said. She threatened to go to the police. He told me to meet him at the warehouse that night, said he'd fixed the problem. The Carters met Bennett at the station, their faces etched with hope and fear. She showed them a photo of Sophie's sundress, sent in the anonymous email. We're testing it for DNA, Bennett said. It's hers, no question, but we need more to pin Everett to murder. Ellen's voice trembled. He killed her, didn't he? Bennett hesitated, then nodded. The evidence points that way, but we need her body or a confession. We're searching the warehouse area now. Tom gripped Ellen's hand, his knuckles white as they absorbed the weight of knowing Sophie was likely gone. Ellen couldn't sit still. She and Mia returned to the science building, sneaking in after hours despite Bennett's warnings. The basement felt colder now, its silence oppressive. They revisited the hidden lab, searching for anything missed. Under a loose floorboard, Mia found a small key etched with W7. Ellen's pulse raced, it matched Sophie's note about the warehouse. They rushed to tell Bennett, who organized a second raid. The key unlocked a storage unit at the warehouse, revealing a locked box. Inside was a bloodied scarf, Sophie's, from a photo at the party, and a USB drive with a single video. The video, timestamped 2:10 a.m. May 15, 2021, showed Sophie in the basement lab, her face pale. I confronted Drive E, she whispered. He admitted to selling human tissue. He's angry. I'm locked in here. If you find this, tell my parents I tried. The video shook, then cut to black. Ellen collapsed, sobbing as Bennett watched, her jaw tight. The scarf's blood matched Sophie's DNA and fibers on it matched Everett's lab coat. It was enough for a murder charge. Bennett arrested Everett at a university fundraiser, his face ashen as handcuffs clicked. The news hit Willow Creek like a storm, with students protesting outside the science building. Everett's lawyer argued the video was inconclusive, but the mounting evidence, journal, phone, scarf, lab coat, was undeniable. The FBI traced more of Everett's network, arresting 2 buyers in Seattle. Klein's testimony sealed the case, detailing how Everett lured Sophie to the lab after the party, attacking her when she refused to stay silent. The search for Sophie's body focused on the woods near the warehouse, guided by Klein's vague directions. Cadaver dogs scoured the area, and on May 20, 2024, they alerted near a shallow stream. Officers dug, finding a silver charm bracelet with a tree pendant, Sophie's, a high school gift from Ellen. No remains were found, the stream's flow and wildlife likely erasing them. But the bracelet was enough for the Carters to accept her loss. Ellen held it, tears falling, feeling Sophie's courage in its delicate weight. Everett's trial began in June 2024, a media frenzy. The prosecution, led by ADA Karen Walsh, used Sophie's journal as the heart of their case, her words echoing in the courtroom. I can't let this go. The video, scarf, and Klein's testimony painted Everett as a predator who killed to protect his empire. The defense claimed Sophie fabricated the accusations, but the jury wasn't swayed. After 3 hours, they convicted Everett of murder and trafficking. He was sentenced to life without parole. His head bowed as Ellen stared, unyielding. The Carters held a memorial on May 30, 2024, under an oak tree on campus. Mia read from Sophie's journal, "Truth is a seed. It grows if you plant it." Ellen spoke of her daughter's bravery, her voice steady. "Sophie saw wrong and fought it. She's in every tree, every river." They buried the bracelet at the tree's base, a final goodbye. Willow Creek named a scholarship after Sophie, and the science building's basement was sealed, its secrets buried with her truth. Ellen and Tom found fragile peace, tending a garden where Sophie's spirit lingered. Mia dedicated her career to environmental justice, carrying Sophie's torch. Bennett kept Sophie's photo on her desk, a reminder of why she fought. Sophie's journal, now in a museum exhibit on campus, inspired students to speak out. As Ellen walked by the river, the water reflecting dusk, she felt Sophie's laugh in the breeze, a light that would never fade. The fallout from Dr. Nathan Everett's conviction reshaped Willow Creek. The university, once a beacon of pride, grappled with shame, its science building a ghost of its former self. Students avoided its halls, whispering about the professor who'd betrayed them. Ellen and Tom Carter found solace in small rituals, tending their garden, where Sophie's bench stood under a cherry tree, its carved initials a quiet tribute. Ellen wore Sophie's locket daily, its tree pendant a reminder of her daughter's courage. The bracelet, found in the stream, rested in a wooden box beside Sophie's journal, both sacred relics of a life cut short. Detective Laura Bennett's work didn't end with Everett's arrest. The FBI, using Sophie's journal and the warehouse evidence, traced his network across the West Coast. Raids shut down clinics in Seattle and Portland, where doctors had sold untested stem cells to desperate patients. The operation's scale, millions in profits, countless lives endangered, stunned investigators. Sophie's words, scribbled in fear, had sparked it all. Dr. E's selling something human. It's not right. Her journal, now in federal archives, was hailed as a whistleblower's testament, saving lives beyond Willow Creek. Ellen channeled her grief into action. Her blog, Sophie's Truth, grew into a platform for survivors of corporate greed, its posts shared by thousands. She received emails from families who'd lost loved ones to similar schemes, each one a bittersweet connection to Sophie. Tom, less vocal, found healing in his workshop, crafting tables for local shelters, each piece etched with a subtle tree, Sophie's symbol. Their dog, River, brought lightness, chasing squirrels around Sophie's bench, his joy a faint echo of their daughter's laugh. Mia Larson, nearing graduation, became a fierce advocate. She spoke at university forums, demanding stricter lab oversight, her voice trembling with Sophie's fire. She met with Dr. Rachel Kim, who'd resigned after the trial, consumed by guilt. "I saw Nathan's late-night deliveries," Rachel admitted over coffee, her eyes downcast. "I thought it was just research. Sophie deserved better." Mia shared a journal entry. "The lab's a front. Dr. E's hiding something big." Rachel offered Bennett a lead, a supplier linked to Klein, whose records showed payments to Everett for specialized materials. Bennett's team scoured the warehouse woods, desperate for Sophie's remains. The stream where her bracelet was found was searched with sonar, but time and nature had erased any trace. Klein, serving a reduced sentence, gave a final detail: Nathan used chemicals to clean up. Said the stream would do the rest. Bennett suspected liquid nitrogen, noted in Sophie's journal, had destroyed evidence. The realization gutted Ellen, but the bracelet, its tree pendant glinting, proved Sophie's defiance. "She fought him," Ellen told Tom, clutching it. She didn't go quietly. The trial in June 2024 gripped Willow Creek. ADA Karen Walsh presented Sophie's video, her whisper haunting, "He knows I know." The scarf, lab coat, and burner phone texts built an ironclad case. Klein testified, his voice flat, "Nathan called me after the party. Said Sophie was handled at the lab." Everett's defense claimed Sophie was unstable, planting evidence to frame him, but the jury saw through it. His testimony, polished, evasive, crumbled under Walsh's questions about the offshore accounts. "You killed her to protect your empire," Walsh said, holding up Sophie's journal. The jury convicted in hours. Everett's life sentence brought no joy, only closure. Outside the courthouse, students lit candles for Sophie, their signs reading "Truth for Sophie." The university, under fire, launched reforms, lab audits, faculty background checks, a new ethics board. The Sophie Carter Scholarship grew, funding students like Priya Patel, who studied renewable energy, inspired by Sophie's passion. Ellen met Priya at a campus event, her hug a lifeline. "Sophie's why I'm here," Priya said. Ellen nodded, tears falling, feeling her daughter in the young woman's resolve. The Carters held a final memorial on May 30, 2024, under the oak tree. Mia read Sophie's words, "Roots find truth even in darkness." Ellen spoke, her voice clear. "Sophie saw evil and faced it. She's in every fight we take up." Tom placed a carved stone by the tree, its tree design mirroring Sophie's locket. Lanterns floated down the river, their glow a tribute to her light. The crowd, from classmates to strangers, stood in silence, honoring a young woman who'd changed their world. Ellen and Tom rebuilt slowly. Ellen's blog inspired a podcast, Voices Unsilenced, telling stories of whistleblowers. Tom taught kids to garden at a community center, sharing Sophie's love for the earth. River bounded through their yard, sleeping on Sophie's bench, a furry guardian. Bennett, promoted for her work, kept Sophie's photo on her desk. "She made us better," she told Ellen, leaving a flower by the oak. The journal, displayed in a campus exhibit, drew students who left notes. "Thank you, Sophie." One evening, Ellen sat by the river, Sophie's locket warm against her chest. The water reflected the sunset, and she felt Sophie's presence, a spark in the breeze, a whisper in the waves. Sophie had exposed a predator, her truth shattering his empire. Ellen smiled, tears falling. "You won, baby," she said, the river carrying her words. Sophie's legacy lived in every student, every tree, every voice that dared to speak. The Carters carried her light, their grief a river, their love a root that would never fade. True Crime, 2021, 2024, 2024, 9/2025. 5,000. Willow Creek settled into an uneasy quiet after Dr. Nathan Everett's conviction. The university, scarred by scandal, dimmed under the weight of Sophie Carter's absence. The oak tree on campus, now called Sophie's Oak, became a pilgrimage site. Students left notes in its bark, thanking her for her courage. Ellen and Tom Carter visited weekly, tending the flowers at its base, Sophie's locket and bracelet in a carved box at home. The journal, its pages preserved, sat in a university exhibit, a silent testament to a young woman who'd unraveled a criminal empire. The FBI's probe, sparked by Sophie's journal, dismantled Everett's network. Raids in California and Nevada shut down clinics profiting from illegal stem cells, saving countless patients from dangerous treatments. Sophie's words, "He's selling something human," echoed in federal reports, her journal credited as the key to exposing a multi-million-dollar scheme. Ellen received a commendation from the FBI, a formal letter praising Sophie's bravery. She hung it beside Sophie's high school diploma, a bittersweet honor for a daughter who'd never come home. Ellen's blog, Sophie's Truth, grew into a movement. Readers sent stories of their own fights against corruption, from corporate fraud to medical scams. Ellen answered each one, finding purpose in their shared pain. Tom, quieter, poured his grief into community work, planting a garden at a local youth center. He named it Sophie's Grove, teaching kids to grow vegetables, sharing her love for the earth. Their dog, River, bounded through the rows, his bark a reminder of lighter days when Sophie would chase him, laughing. Mia Larson graduated in May 2024, dedicating her degree to Sophie. She took a job with an environmental NGO pushing for lab regulations inspired by Sophie's case. At a campus vigil, she met Sam Rivera, a journalist writing a book, Roots of Courage, about Sophie's impact. She saw what others missed, Mia told him, sharing memories of Sophie sketching trees during study sessions. Sam's interviews with Ellen painted a vivid picture, a mother transformed by loss into a warrior for truth. The book, set for release in 2025, promised to keep Sophie's story alive. Detective Laura Bennett never stopped searching for Sophie's remains. The warehouse stream where her bracelet was found was combed with new tech, drones, soil analysis, but nature had erased her traces. Victor Klein, serving his sentence, offered one last clue. Nathan mentioned a chemical cleanup. Said the stream took care of everything. Then it confirmed the liquid nitrogen from Sophie's journal was likely used to destroy evidence. The realization crushed Ellen, but the bracelet, its tree pendant gleaming, proved Sophie's fight. She stood up to him, Ellen told Mia, clutching it. That's my girl. The trial's echoes lingered. ADA Karen Walsh, hailed for her prosecution, visited the Carters, bringing a copy of Sophie's journal pages used in court. She was the strongest witness, Walsh said, her voice soft. The university, under pressure, implemented reforms, mandatory lab audits, ethics training, a whistleblower hotline. The Sophie Carter Scholarship expanded, funding dozens of students like Javier Lopez, who studied climate policy, inspired by Sophie's passion. Javier met Ellen at a scholarship gala, his gratitude fierce. Sophie's why I fight for change. The Carters' final memorial, May 30, 2024, drew a crowd to Sophie's Oak. Mia read a journal entry, "Truth is a tree, its roots grow deep, even in the dark." Ellen spoke, her voice steady. Sophie saw evil and didn't flinch. She's in every choice to do right. Tom placed a stone by the tree, its carved tree matching Sophie's locket. Lanterns floated down the river, their light a quiet farewell. Strangers left notes, "Thank you, Sophie. You changed us." Ellen felt her daughter in the breeze, her spirit woven into the crowd's resolve. Life crept forward for the Carters. Ellen's blog inspired a local TV segment, Voices of Valor, featuring Sophie's story. Tom's garden flourished, kids planting seeds in Sophie's name. River slept on Sophie's bench, his warmth a comfort. Bennett, now a captain, kept Sophie's photo on her desk, a reminder of justice won. The journal exhibit drew visitors, its pages urging students to question, to act. One note, left by a freshman, read, "Sophie, you're my hero." On a warm May evening, Ellen walked by the river, Sophie's locket against her heart. The water shimmered, reflecting the fading sun, and she felt Sophie's presence, a laugh in the ripples, a spark in the air. Sophie had faced a predator, her journal shattering his lies. Ellen whispered, "You did it, baby," the river carrying her words. Sophie's legacy lived in every student, every truth seeker, every root that grew despite the dark. The Carters carried her light, their grief a quiet stream, their love a tree that would stand forever.